So, we discussed my relationship or lack thereof with my dad, and my relationship with my grandparents, and false friendships and stuff like that. Now we're going to get into the romantic relationships. My first true relationship happened when I was 18. No, 19, I want to say. And she convinced me she was madly in love with me. And we ended up getting engaged. In fact, we had moved in together. She convinced me to buy a brand new truck, Ford Ranger. Or she wanted me to buy a brand new vehicle. I ended up choosing a truck, and we ended up moving in together, and I ended up proposing to her. I didn't have a lot of money, so I got the ring from Walmart. And we had looked at rings before. And when I took her to the park where we had our first kiss, and I took her to the table that we shared that kiss sitting at, and we had carved our names into, or our initials into, a wooden picnic table, and I got down on one knee and proposed to her. And when I held the ring out, she took one look at it and said, "It's the wrong fucking ring," and marched off to the truck. And I was very perplexed about this. After a while, I got her calmed down, told her that we could go exchange the ring for one that she wanted. And, I was madly in love. I didn't know any better. So I took her back to Walmart, and we exchanged the ring for one that she wanted. And she went to put it on, and I snatched it from her, and I was like, "Wait a minute, you never gave me an answer, And so right there in the middle of Walmart, I got down on one knee and proposed to her in front of everyone, which was the most... It took a lot of guts for me to do that. But like I said, I was madly in love with her. She said yes. And mind you, we had only been together a month by this point. Maybe a month and a half. And when we lived together, if we got into arguments or something, if we were in public and I disagreed with her, she would straight up strangle me until I went along with what she wanted. She would wrap her hands around my neck and just start choking me, or she'd hit me. And I didn't realize that what she was doing was abusing me. Her mom was narcissistic too, two-faced. You could say something to her and she'd turn around and tell it to everyone else and twist your words and everything. But that's besides the point. Whenever we'd get into an argument at home, because she couldn't publicly humiliate me like that, she would get in her car and drive off, and I would go after her, not in a violent way. I would go after her so that we could work it out, and she'd usually go to Steak and Shake, which was like a mile from our apartment or something, 2 miles, something like that. And so I'd follow her over there, and we'd end up working out our problems right there, eating dinner at Steak and Shake, And this happened quite a few times. we would party, a lot, and if she were drunk, I would refuse to be intimate with her, and she didn't like that, because I felt that she wouldn't be able to consent if she was drunk, but she didn't like that at all. She had to be the one in control. She had to be the one making all the rules, everything. And then we found out she was pregnant with my oldest, and she flipped out. I was over the moon. I was ecstatic that we were expecting a baby, and she was saying how could I do that to her? She's not ready to be a mom, this, that, and the other. And then she was feeling stressed out or whatever, and she went to the doctor, and I guess he told her that she needed to kind of calm down, de-stress and all this. And so I had to go to work one night. I was working second shift, and I told her I would call her on my breaks, check in on her, see how she's doing. If she didn't answer, then I would know she went to the hospital, because we were afraid she was going to lose the baby. So I called to check up on her, and she didn't answer. I was freaking out. I was afraid something had happened. Something was happening with the baby and everything. So I took off work. I left, and I went to the hospital, to the ER. Her mom's car was parked out in the parking lot. I parked right next to it. I went in there and gave the receptionist her name and told her, that the situation and everything. They said they didn't find anyone in there with that name, and I saw her mom kind of peek around the corner from behind the receptionist in intake, and I was like, no, her mom. I just saw her mom right there, and I was very anxious. I was worried, and I was getting louder. I wasn't being violent. I wasn't angry or anything like this. I was extremely worried. I didn't know what was going on. Well, the receptionist threatened to call the police on me and everything, and I was confused. So my fiance had a mutual friend was there with him, and she took me out to my truck and drove me home, explained everything to me, said that my fiance had told the nurses that I was abusive. And I was like, what? How? And told me that they gave her a card to call, and if she called that number, then she'd be gone, and I'd never see her or the baby again. Blah 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 blah. And I was like, how could she think that? I've bent over backwards for her. I'd bring her flowers when I'd get off of work. I'd go out of my way to wait on her hand and foot, and eventually she had me convinced that I had anger management issues and that I was abusive towards her. So I set up counseling with my pastor, and I was going to be gone for the week, and I came home a little early, and she was looking for some stuff. She was going to go out with friends, and so while she was out, I invited some friends over, and while we were there, we were watching Ed Gein. I'm going to have to save this for another part because it's coming up on 10 minutes.